Well, hello everyone. Happy Friday. It's the start of the weekend. And it's us. We're back again, live, episode 244. This is the ProSynth Network Live. My name is Robbie, and we're going to be with you for the next couple of hours talking all sorts of wonderful things with lots of wonderful people. And we'll introduce those to you in just a little while. Before we do all of that, let me say hi to everyone that's in the chat. I won't go through you by name because that would take me a rather long time. But thanks to all of our YouTube channel members I can see there. Peter, James, Stephen, Keith in Watford, Tassovy Music. Thanks to all the moderators. Andrew, no, not Andrew Longhurst. We'll see him later. Ben from Musines is there. I don't see Andy Synth Addict. It might be a little early for him. And I know that Mr. Brooks is still around. He's just very busy. He's a very busy man. But he might pop in later, but they look after the chat for us. But you're all well-behaved people. So there we go. Don't have to worry too much. But thanks for joining us. And if you're watching on catch-up after the fact, welcome. Thank you for coming back and sharing your time with us. Before we do anything else, can I just ask you, if you haven't already, give us a like during the show. If you like what you see, like what you hear, give us a thumbs up. Buttons just underneath the screen. Apparently that really does pump the algorithm, so the kids say. If you want to comment, of course, you can do so using any of the chat facilities on the platforms that we broadcast on. So that's YouTube chat, that's Facebook Live, and it's also Twitch as well. We get all of those comments through here. So if you have anything to say, please do say it in there, and you can chat with fellow viewers throughout the show. If you have a question, of course, stick a big capital Q in front of your comment, so it just helps us pick it out and put it into the bucket so that we can come back to it at the appropriate time. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, notification bell, subscriptions and bells. Make sure you don't miss any of our shows and any of the extra content that we occasionally put up. And of course, if you know somebody who doesn't already watch the show but you think they ought to, please share the link around. Which reminds me, if you are a member of our Facebook group and you want to invite people to our Facebook group, we love you to have you do that. It helps spread the word and gets the community growing. But could you please mention to the people you've invited that you've invited them, because they do have to fill out 3 little questions that guarantees that they are human and not bots. And that's all it is. It's nothing more. 3 very simple questions, and it gets you in the door. We've had a few people inviting lots of people, and it's great, but those people don't answer the questions. Maybe they don't know they've been invited. So just let them know if you do that. That would be fantastic. We just had all the bills in, well, the big bill for the year, and our streaming service costs have gone through the roof, quite literally, almost, well, they have doubled, effectively doubled this year, and lots of reasons for that. So we rely on your financial support, and I hate to come cap in hand, but it keeps us going. So if you want to support us, please do. You don't have to. You're not obliged to. I'm not laying a big guilt trip on you, man. But if you would like to donate to us, you can do it in a number of ways. The simplest way is if you're watching on YouTube, you can use YouTube stickers, and you can use that facility. You can join the YouTube channel for a minimum $2. You can also join our Patreon page for a minimum $2 a month. That gets you access to free stuff, free videos, content, sound patches for your synthesizers, exclusives, and so on and so forth. Lots of little things being added there all the time. So if you become a YouTube channel member or a Patreon member, you get extra stuff because we love that you support us. Another way that you can support us and get stuff is by, dare I say it, our merchandise store, which opened a few weeks ago, has gone absolutely ballistic. We're selling loads and loads of things, and let me show you what it looks like. Here it is, lots of goodies in there that you can buy, and we get a small cut of each sale, so it helps us. So we've got dresses for the ladies, jogging bottoms for you fit people. We've got a brand new desk mat with a big logo in the middle. That's something I put on there a little while back. We've got sticker sets so you can adorn your favorite synthesizers, computers, flight cases, keyboard stands with the ProSynth Network logo. There's the zipped hoodie, which we had a request for, so there it is. We've got the mugs with the cartoon characters and the t-shirts with the cartoon characters. We've got The Widdies t-shirt officially approved by CME themselves, no less. The Christmas jumpers are arriving on people's doorsteps. Kent, I'm surprised you haven't got yours on, but we'll talk about that later. But they're landing. But it's too late now, unfortunately. They won't be delivered before Christmas now because they take quite a while to make. All sorts of lovely stuff on there. The dog collars, which of course Siri is sporting for us over there at Kent's place. Lots of goodies that you can have, and of course links to all our YouTube shows, including the very one that we're doing right now. So you can support us by buying a little bit of merchandise and then wear your ProSynth Network garments or drink out of your ProSynth Network mugs. And feel proud that you've helped support the channel. So thank you ever so much for doing that. And of course, you can also follow us on all of the social media channels that we operate on: YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and we're now on Blue Sky because we got rid of X because it was just a dumpster fire and we didn't want to be involved in that. So we are now on Blue Sky. We'll add that to the graphic when I remember to do it. But there we go. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff out of the way. So before we get to our very special and esteemed, and I don't use that word lightly, our very esteemed guests, we need to introduce the old boys that helped me drag this sorry ass show right through till 9 p.m. UK time. Let's go first of all to someone who is in relative darkness but with a dog sporting a ProSynth Network collar.
Help.
He's being hounded, literally hounded. Lily, leave him alone.
Yes.
Look at that. Look at the advertising there.
Yeah, look at that. Look, I'm paying her £5 a week.
We ought to. We absolutely ought to. Bless her.
Oh,
how are you, sir?
I'm very, very tired.
You were knee deep in a CRB. What was it? Something.
CRB Diamond Voco.
Voco strings. That's it. Yeah, a rare Italian synthesizer of string and vocoder variety.
Indeed, sir.
Very nice. Did you get it working?
Nah.
Ah, okay.
I moved on to a Moog sauce that arrived by Uber.
A second Moog sauce?
Yeah, second Moog sauce. And from completely dead to up and kicking.
Lovely.
And calibrated and ready to go back. So it's going back tomorrow morning. So that's good.
Good.
So,
excellent.
Yeah, I think I've got 4, maybe 5 keyboards left now.
And then it's done for Christmas. Yeah. Don't blame me, mate.
But I did come in and have something to eat and then promptly fell asleep. So it's a wonder I'm here at all.
Well, we're very glad that you are.
If I made it, yeah.
Indeed. Good stuff. Thanks for joining. And of course, we also joined by Mr. Longhurst, whose microphone is muted. Audio professionals, eh? I use that word loosely. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Very tired as well, a bit like all of you. Busy week.
Is it our age?
It's partly our age, but it's also partly just being, people dump stuff on you just before Christmas. Everyone wants everything at once. And I spent an age trying to find the right music for someone for a particular video thing, when I suddenly realised, hang on a minute.
Yeah, there you go. You can do it.
So it took about 15 minutes and we had the perfect thing for them. So, yeah, you forget sometimes these things. You just go, oh, maybe I could.
Yeah. So, do it yourself. DIY. Anyway,
DIY.
Good to see you, as always. Before we come to our special guests, I need to mention a few people who have answered the call to arms. Bless them all. One of them, Dr. Mike Metley, of course. $5. I never miss a chance to heckle Chris in person. I'm sure he'll be doing that very shortly. Steve in Australia, 10 Australian dollars. Thank you very much indeed for that. Much appreciated. To Matt, aka Bostix247, thank you for your donation. It is Friday, thankfully. Only 2 more weeks and then I can put my feet up for Christmas. Oh, fantastic. Cloudface, thank you very much indeed for your £3 donation. £3, you must be in the UK somewhere, so welcome. And I hope you're hunkered down for the storm that we're all about to face, called Storm Dara. And actually, it's probably a good time to mention that if this show goes off air, it's because we have this massive storm heading our way. It's already starting to hit the west side of the country and is going to make its way over to us at some point, but hopefully nothing until after 9 o'clock. But just in case we do disappear, that's probably it. And our very own Ben from Musings. If you don't know Musings, it's an amazing resource on the internet of historical electronic music and technology magazines. Does this include postage and packing? Will it arrive before Christmas? Does my support weigh less than 5 kilograms? I don't know, but it's worth its weight in gold. Thank you very much indeed for your donation, and to everyone else that has donated, whether it's through the super chats and super stickers, or whether you're a Patreon subscriber or a YouTube channel member, or whether you've bought merchandise. And there's lots of people that have bought merchandise, and we're so happy. I'm getting photos all the time of people wearing the stuff, or showing it off, and it's just brilliant. Don't forget, also coming up a little bit later on, we've got another episode of our ongoing series of user videos called Synthspirations, where people tell us about the music that inspired them to get into making music with electronic machines and so on and so forth. This time, I'll save that. I'll keep you on tenterhooks for that one. Anyway, we've got some very, very special guests, and it's all to do with one particular very special cause that is dear to our hearts. You might remember the last Bob Moog Foundation raffle was something that we were very lucky to have a finger in various different places, if that's the right phrase to use. Kent restored it, Andrew demonstrated it, and I just spoke about it, which was fine. And hopefully, I think we'll be able to hear from. Actually, we will. Let's get this ladies first, I think, and I think our other guests won't mind at all. Let's bring in the one, the only. Her name rhymes with Vogue. It's Michelle Mokusa. Yay! Hang on. I've got applause for you now. Yay! There we go. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much. It's always good to see you. You're at the Moogseum?
I am in our offices behind the Moogseum.
Oh, okay. Cool. Nice posters on the wall. Nice pictures there of Keith and your dad. Others. There we go. Look at that. Fantastic. How the devil are you?
We're hanging in there. It's
good.
We're just taking it one day at a time and trying to navigate a kind of ever-changing landscape of what is happening in Asheville.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, because I know you want to give us an update, because things did get a little hairy. I'm talking about a storm coming in here. It was nothing. It'll be nothing compared to what you guys went through, which was atrocious. But it's good to know that you have come out the other side. But as I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But always great to have you on, and great to see you. Great to see that fantastic smile. Now then, we have one more guest, and this gentleman is an esteemed member of our community. He has his own teaching website called learningmodular.com. And guess what you can do on that site? Clues in the name. Exactly. You can learn how to use your modular synthesizers to their optimum best. But what you can also thank this gentleman for is many, many years in the industry, including inventing things like the groundbreaking Prophet VS, which has then gone on to inspire many other synths of similar nature. It's the one and only Chris Meyer. Let's give you a round of applause. There we go. Chris, it's your first time on the show. Thank you ever so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really happy to be out here. It's been great to be out here in Asheville and helping the foundation and having a good time with this beastie.
Absolutely. Now, you are just the other side of the wall from Michelle, aren't you?
Yes, right through a door.
Fantastic. Now, you're here for, two reasons. Mainly, A, we want to talk to you about you and what you do, but also, as you said, you motioned to that immense contraption. Tell us, what is that?
Yeah, the Bob Moog Foundation decided to do something a little bit different for a raffle this year, and decided to do a modern modular system as a giveaway. And we decided, well, not a giveaway, well, a raffle is a giveaway. And we decided to start with making it a tribute to Bob as best as we can. There's Bob over my other shoulder. And starting with as many Moog tribute modules as we could, and then fleshing it out to make it a very complete system for whoever the lucky winner is.
Fantastic. These raffle prizes are just getting better and better. What we're going to do is we'll talk about that in a little while, and we'll get the update from Michelle as well about the foundation. But what I want to do is because we have you here for the first time, I've seen you interviewed by our friend Jamie over at GeoSynths and Ken Flux Pierce, who's also interviewed you. So I've been doing my research. But my style of interviewing is basically ask a simple question and let the guest tell the story themselves. Now, you have a very interesting background that leads you to this point in your life and your career. Would you mind maybe starting at the very beginning? Because I'm told it's a very good place to start. And tell us how you got into this whole world of synthesizers and where that journey has taken you up until this point.
Okay. I was fortunate to have a brother and sister, 10 and 11 years older than me, who were very much into music themselves. So as I was growing up, there's always music playing in the house. So I was into music from an early age. And then our basement flooded. That's where my brother lived, downstairs. And he was clearing out all these old popular electronics magazines. And I rescued them from the trash and started looking at them. I was like 6 years old at the time. I'm going, I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I'm fascinated. So I had this interest in music and electronics. And then I started hearing some commercial spots being played on the Moog synthesizer. And I heard, I can combine my interest in electronics and my interest in music in the same thing. Sign me up. I'm in.
Awesome.
I'm interested in it. But then I had everyone tell me, like, no. You don't want to be a musician. You don't want to be a starving musician. You don't want to be a studio engineer because, recording engineer sounds cool. You would just be serving tea and sweeping the floors. So that's a bummer. So I seem to have an aptitude for this engineering thing. So I got it for purely mercenary reasons, got an engineering degree so I could afford music as a hobby. In my first year working for a robotics company, this is when digital was coming in, analog was going out. I'm buying like an Oberheim 2 voice and EML 101, things like that for a couple $100 each, and starting to build a little collection of instruments. And we all hated our first jobs, and a bunch of us at the company helped each other find their next job. And someone found an advertisement in a newspaper for sequential circuits, looking for someone to come in and do MIDI. And at the time, MIDI was brand new. We're talking, 1983 back then. Mm-hmm. I had read all of one article on MIDI by Craig Anderson, which was one article more than most musicians in the US, let alone programmers. So I interviewed and they took me on. And, here I am, 1 year out of college, being hired to take over for Dave Smith as Sequential Circuits MIDI representative.
Wow.
So talk about a lucky break,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And it was never like a matter of like, I got this thing and I'm going to use it. It's just a matter of like, well, doing what you think is the right thing to do. My first job was to actually go through all of Sequential's products at the time that had MIDI. This is 84 at this point, and fixing bugs and adding features and things like that. And I just started doing that, and I was active in the MIDI Manufacturers Association. I became their technical chairman and was that off and on for several years. And just as things came up, I said, we should add this to the MIDI spec. Like I started working with doing sound effects for film, doing digital Foley work. Mm-hmm. I said, there's no SMPTE inside MIDI. We need SMPTE timecode in MIDI to do this work. So I came up with the MIDI timecode spec. We were working on the Prophet 2000 sampler. I said, we need a way of transferring samples between instruments because everyone's formats were different. So I came up with the sample dump standard. So it was like no grand plan to take over the world. It's just a matter of, we need that. Let's go make that right now.
Mm. Excellent. And then what? Because the whole vector synthesis thing kind of came up. Tell us how you stumbled over that and created that, and then how you implemented it within initially the Prophet VS.
Yeah, there's a story about it takes a village, and it certainly did with the Prophet VS. I was kind of known inside Sequential even back then as being the resident historian. I had all these manuals from all these different instruments like Synergy DGS and Fairlight and PPG and all this stuff. And another engineer in the company actually came up to me and said, explain to me how digital synths work. Because at that time, Sequential had only analog synths. Mm. And Dave was talking about, we should do a digital synth. But that was as amorphous as it was at the time. So someone said, explain to me how digital synths work. So I started talking about wavetable, and I started showing them how a PPG worked, how there's a table of these different waveforms after each other, and it scanned back and forth. And as I was drawing across a piece of paper, because we used paper and pencil back then, my hand just went like that. I said, what if we crossfaded between waves in 2 dimensions instead of 1? So I went home, and I had a modular system at home at the time. I patched up this monstrous patch with 4 oscillators and all these different modulators doing quad panning between oscillators, and made a little demo tape and brought it into Sequential. And it just happened to be perfect timing that when Dave was looking for a digital algorithm to implement in a future sequential product, I came up with this idea of crossfading between different waveforms to go ahead and create sound. And just so happened that was one of Dave's criteria. The one thing Dave knew he wanted is some way of morphing or changing the waveform or harmonics. And the whole idea of vector synthesis was not play things back in a row or anything, but for the user to pick, I want to go from this sound to this sound to this sound, and a mixture in between them, and the envelope or LFO or aftertouch in between them. And that's what vector synthesis was based on. The user picks the waveforms and then can pan in this little 2D space in between those different sounds.
Excellent. So tell me, because I know that there's sometimes there's confusion with vector synthesis. Your version of vector synthesis, did it morph between the waveforms and the settings, or was it just purely a volume mixer?
Yeah, it was a volume mixer. It was a reverse quad panel.
Gotcha.
And to be completely honest, back at the time, processors inside the computers were very weak compared to today. Like, we were working with 8 megahertz processors back then,
Yeah.
not gigahertz. And I was even back then saying, how can we make this as efficient to implement as possible? So I initially said, well, it'd be really easy if we had 4 waveforms all playing back synchronized with the same frequency. And it'd be very easy just to scale them and add them together to go ahead and create a quad mix between the 4 of them. And the person who was actually the project manager on the Prophet VS, Josh Jeffy, he's the one who wrote the code for the instrument, experimented and said, it just doesn't sound fat. There's no detuning between the oscillators. It doesn't have the big sound we're used to with a multiple VCO classic sequential instruments like the Prophet 5, et cetera. So he said, we have to be able to have them as independent oscillators that are detuned from each other. And that was a real masterstroke on Josh's part to tweak the original idea for vector synthesis in that direction. Because now we can create these massive sounds where you can crossfade between different notes in a chord or interval and all this other stuff.
Cool. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, please do. When sequential ended, or was bought out, should I say, by Korg, actually, it was Yamaha first, and then the team went to Korg. I'm just getting my facts straight here, because I know Metley will be hot on my heels if I don't. So Yamaha bought out sequential. They brought out the SY22 and the SY35, and the TG33 was the module version.
And
so
that had TG33 and SY22, yeah.
That's it, yeah. So they had vector control. Were you involved in that in any way? Did you move over to them as part of that buyout by Yamaha, and did you have anything to do with those at all?
No, I was gone by then.
Oh, okay.
At the time, Sequential was in dire financial straits, and it was a really difficult place to work at because we're constantly under threat of being closed by the bank.
Yeah.
And I actually had moved to digital design at the point in time.
Oh, okay.
But I had some other people who made the transition fill me in, that there was representatives from Sequential who went to Yamaha and said, hey, Sequential has this cool sounding digital synthesis algorithm called vector synthesis, where you crossfade between different harmonic groups, basically. Mm-hmm. And Yamaha's professional keyboard division said, we already have FM. We don't need another algorithm. That's just crossfading. We don't need that. So they actually took it to the home keyboard division. And they're the ones who did the was it SY33 and TG22 or TG33 SY22. I think that's the order. And decided, okay, we're going to 2 wavetable oscillators and 2 of our little 4 off FM engines.
Yeah.
That's the 4 corners.
That's
crossfade between those.
And because
so that's where that came from, was actually the home keyboard division of Yamaha.
Wow.
Do something with it.
That's amazing. And then, of course, after that, I don't quite know the ins and outs of it, but Yamaha, I think, had a big stake in Korg, and I guess I don't know how that transition from the Yamaha-owned R&D went to Korg, and of course they came up with the Wave Station. And how did that differ from what you were doing at early days? Because obviously that was an incredibly well-received machine.
Yeah, and that's actually Dave Smith's credit for the Wave Station. He's the one who specified in a large amount what the Wave Station became. And trying to figure out the right order to tell all these different stories about it. But Dave's basic idea was, when we did the Prophet VS, we already had an idea. The original engineers who worked on it, myself, Tony Dean, Josh Jeffy were the core engineers. And there was Dave, John Bowen, and Scott Peterson also working on it. we knew ways we wanted to expand the Prophet DS. We said, it needs sync. It needs PCM sampled transients to put in front of the sounds before it then goes into the crossfading. This was before the D50 that we were thinking about that. But by the time they went through Yamaha and then became Korg, Dave came up with a different idea of, instead of fading between 4 different oscillators, let's fade between 4 entire voices instead. So there's oscillator, filter, amp, then that goes into a quad or dual, depending on how many layers you want, crossfader on the end to combine those voices together.
Yeah. The whole vector thing, should we call it, was just a fantastic thing. And we're still seeing similar sort of things in synthesizers today. But of course, some of these synthesizers are actually genuinely morphing all of the parameters of that. So it's basically 2 patches morphing into, between each other. And, it's an incredible thing. So thanks for the history. What then has led you to one of your current ventures, that's the word I'm looking for, which is, of course, Learning Modular. How did that all come about? Where did because, you've been working for Sequential, which is, as I would like to call them, proper synthesizers with keyboards and stuff. But where did your love of modular start? Was it quite a way back? And why has it now manifested itself into an educational project?
Yeah, when I started learning instruments, and then we'll go back a little bit of history again, my parents tried with my brother and sister to get them to learn musical instruments, and they had no interest whatsoever. So they didn't even try with me. And I came up and was listening to music, and I said, I told them one day when I was 15, I said, I'd really like to learn how to play keyboard, because I saw most of the synthesizers had keyboards on them at the time. And my parents' response was, that's great. Go buy a piano and take lessons. So I saved up, and for my 16th birthday, I bought a used Wurlitzer EP200 electric piano.
Nice.
I started taking lessons. I was taking lessons in piano, bass guitar, but also synthesizer.
Okay.
And back then, to learn synthesizer, they took you to a modular synthesizer. My first instructor was a guy by the name of Patrick Gallagher, who was a representative for Steiner Parker, an early American brand of synthesizers. So I learned synthesis on a Steiner Parker synthesis system. It was just taken for granted. This is how you learn synthesis.
Right.
So after I did Sequential, Digital Design, Music Maker Publications out of England, which you probably know well, they've been bought out since then. Tom Oberheim's Marion Systems, enrolled in R&D US for a while. I got tired of the music industry in the 90s. I didn't like how they were becoming workstations instead of synthesizers. And I went into the video graphics world for a while. My wife and I did opening titles for TV shows and films for a couple decades. And after we got really sick of Hollywood and psychotic producers, I said, what made me happy in life? What did I enjoy the most? And I realized it was mucking with sound. So I thought, I see modulars are coming back. I've had my day in the spotlight. My wife and I were quite visible in the video world back then. I said, I'm just going to buy a modular synth. I'm going to go into a cave in the basement. I'm just going to do nothing but make sounds just for my own enjoyment. I've had it with a public rule. And my wife said, how much is this going to cost? And she said, you seem to have an aptitude for teaching this stuff, because I taught synthesis at UCLA Extension, University of California, Los Angeles. She and I had done a lot of online training and written training for how to do computer graphics. And the video training facility we were associated with back then, lynda.com, would pretty much take anything we wanted. So my wife had the brilliant idea, pitched the idea of doing modular synthesis courses online. Stupid idea, but they took it. So I went ahead and developed, initially, again, very mercenary, like my engineering degree, courses to teach modular synthesis to help fund my modular synthesis habit, to be completely honest. But I also learned that at that point in time, we had gotten so far away from modular synthesis that a lot of people had no idea of the fundamentals. You could buy an app with 5,000 presets, and no one knew how it worked underneath the hood. So I realized I really had to go back to the fundamentals and remember what it was like when I was a teen just learning this stuff for the first time, and relate it in those terms rather than think, well, we assume you already know how to do all of this. No, let's start at ground zero. And that's kind of what got me started in teaching others how to do modular synthesis.
Gotcha. So if anybody's not familiar, learningmodular.com is the website. Here it is. There's lots of information on there, informational videos, and then some backstory and history, and all the courses are there. So there's courses in Eurorack for beginners and intermediates. There's a basic concept course, which is free of charge. There's semi-modular synths. It covers semi-modular synths and software modular as well. So you don't have to have all of those big boxes with cables hanging around. Of course, you also helped co-author the Patch and Tweak Buke Exploring Modular Synthesis. So there's lots and lots of information on there, and of course you can sign up for those.
And if you could scroll back to the top of that just for a second, I want to point out something. One of the first things I did on that website was a glossary, a modular synthesis glossary, because I realized there was so much jargon involved that we take for granted. What's an ADSR and things like that. That I had to create a glossary of terms for beginners who were like maybe a little embarrassed to ask, what does that mean? What does that acronym mean? Let's just go ahead and do a brain dump of all these different terminology and make that available for beginners as well.
That's fantastic. That, I mean, and that can work for anyone that's using any form of synthesis, whether it's modular or traditional keyboard based or whatever. And you actually before we came on air, you mentioned that basically modular is a synthesizer turned inside out with the insides exposed, which I thought was a brilliant way of just explaining it from a very fundamental level.
Yeah, I mean, this is how to rewire what's going on inside a normal keyboard synthesizer. Or for people who are used to software, I say, this is your ultimate multi-touch user interface.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate flat menu, multi-touch. It's a great UI to do synthesis.
Absolutely. No, it is. It's great. And seeing that amazing machine behind you is incredible. And we will talk more about that shortly. But before we do, I want to cross over to the other side of the door, shall we say, because that's where she is. Let's bring in Michelle. Tell us, you went through, and the organisation went through a really tough time this year because of the storms, the hurricane, and the flooding, and all sorts of stuff. And you popped on to give us a little update just afterwards, which we were super thankful for. And that was around the time of the last raffle. Tell us, first of all, that raffle, how successful was it, and did it help? And how are things looking now?
Well, the Peter Gabriel signed Mini Moog raffle was super successful. It was our second most successful raffle.
Awesome.
Out of almost 35 raffles that we've run. So it was enormously helpful, and is going to be a big part of helping us get through to the end of the year and then through the first quarter. So thank you guys so much, all of you, for supporting it. And
our pleasure.
PSN for all the special ways that they supported the raffle. I don't think we could have pulled that off without Kent and Andrew. So thank you guys so much for that. We are continually grateful for you. When you guys saw me last, I had just come back from Europe and kind of landed here and was settling in, and the museum was just beginning. No, we hadn't reopened, actually. I don't think we had actually reopened. We opened on October 22nd after being closed for 3 weeks. And downtown Asheville was more or less unaffected by Hurricane Helene as far as physical damage. As most of you know, the museum did sustain some exterior damage. Our awning and its frame were ripped off the building and then came crashing down into one of our windows, which then fractured into several places. And it took us, 6 weeks or so before we were able to get that repaired, but it is now repaired. We're still waiting for the awning repair. But compared to what else happened in this area, that's incredibly minor, which we're very, very grateful for. I shudder to think what would have happened if there was a lot of interior damage to the museum, given how many one-of-a-kind exhibits and one-of-a-kind musical instruments are in there. So we will take the exterior damage. So we were very grateful to open up again. But in the first, I guess we were open for about 10 days in October, and we had 9 visitors in those 10 days.
Because that's the real killer, isn't it? The tourism industry. Your governor was saying, let's stay away. We need to get this all cleared up.
They were, and then even when they started to invite people back, I think some people were hesitant. We were still the city was still having water issues and had water issues until about 2 weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago, yeah. And the water has been fully restored now, so that's good. I think people are understanding that while there was so much devastation, um, it wasn't kind of isolated areas. And those were areas that were near rivers and creeks. And there were also, in addition to the flooding, there were over 2,000 landslides.
Wow.
So, but I have never seen one of those in my particular travels. And I know they were somewhat spread out, but I think they were fairly concentrated in some higher elevation areas. So it's just a weird dichotomy where there's incredible devastation in some kind of fragmented areas, and then areas where everything has been fine, more or less fine, other than the community is heartbroken and doing everything they can to support the people who were so severely affected.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people are seeing online is just the devastation and not the fact that downtown has been open for business since October 22nd, that there are lots of other areas that are open for business, even the River Arts District, which was severely affected. I think there are over 15 businesses open there. And as you mentioned, we are very dependent on the tourism industry here, and it has severely decreased. We were fortunate in that the Museum's income was down by 97.3%
Wow.
in October. Of course, we were closed for almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then open to nobody coming through the door. It was almost being closed, but not quite.
Yeah.
And then in November, things picked up a little bit, especially around our Thanksgiving holiday, which comes at the end of the month. And we were only down 74%.
Okay.
So I feel like we're moving in the right direction, but I also think that it is going to be a long time before the museum returns to its original numbers. I heard just recently that they did a study of cities like ours that sustain natural disasters, and they found that it took 10 to 27 months before small businesses' income returned to their pre-disaster levels.
Wow.
Could I ask you a question, Michelle?
Of course.
I remember when this all occurred, one of the big problems wasn't so much the damage to the museum itself and the area you were in, but it was the fact that the transport networks and the hotels couldn't open, so there was no way of supporting tourists. Even if they had have turned up, there was no way of them getting around. How much of that is now fixed? Because I got the feeling that it's a vastly improved situation now.
It is. That's a great question. The roads have vastly improved. I would say there is a way to get here from anywhere. Some roads are still damaged, so you have to go up and around. We just had a volunteer come here and help us with our archive for 3 days from Nashville, which is normally 5 hours away, and it took him 7.
Wow.
So, but within town, sometimes you have to kind of take a long way, but there are ways to get, almost everything is open. Although
And accommodation?
The accommodations, they actually were they were very quickly open, but they quickly filled up with displaced people who were housed there by FEMA. They did not have water, but those who could brought water in. That was one of many bizarre sights that you would see around the Asheville area, as huge tanker trucks of potable water parked by hotels, parked near restaurants. The figure I heard is that it costs hotels $50,000 a month just to have water. But as I
Right.
say, there were over 9,000 families that were being housed in local hotels for a while. So now with water having been fully restored, I think the hotels are back to normal as far as functioning. And I do think some tourism is coming back. It's just that we need to continue to spread the word that while parts of Asheville and Western North Carolina are definitely still recovering, there are lots of parts of Asheville and Western North Carolina that are open for business. And it's very important to recognize that the concern for this area is that a financial disaster is going to follow the physical disaster if these small businesses are not supported. The statistic is that when a natural disaster hits, up to 45% of small businesses go out of business.
Wow.
So we have gotten some small. We get one small grant to help us with some of our losses because we've lost over $40,000 so far, and I'm sure that number will continue into the better part of next year, if not beyond. So that's good. Our state and our federal government have been slow in figuring out how to get grants to small businesses so that we can remain strong and resilient.
Which is why the raffles are such an important part of your revenue streams at the moment. Should we?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us anything about it? Sorry, Robbie, if I've interrupted, but it seemed like it's a really good place to go now.
Yes.
Well, before you do that, sorry, I was just going to say, if people want to support, get to Asheville if you can, and obviously that's not possible for a lot of people. However, you can still donate to the BMF at this very link here. You can become a member of the BMF, and also there is a store where you can buy BMF merch, and we all love a bit of merch, don't we? So there's lots of ways that you can support this brilliant organisation, and of course the raffle is a really super cool way of doing that. So, as Andrew said, let's hear about what made you come up with this idea. Was it something you thought of yourself? Did somebody suggest it, and how did it all germinate?
Well, actually, I had someone on our staff talk to Chris about some Eurorack modules that someone wanted to donate to us, and someone on staff thought we should pop them in the museum, and I wasn't sure that was the right choice. So I said, I really think you should talk to Chris and get his opinion. And that conversation morphed into Destiny, who is our assistant museum manager, having the idea to perhaps do a Eurorack modular raffle. And she asked me about it, and then she consulted Chris about it. And Chris has been the backbone of this raffle effort. He has, curated every single module, every single part of it. And we have been here to support him with asking companies and following up and making sure the logistics were covered. But he has put in a tremendous amount of energy, effort, and expertise into helping us bring this kind of brand new raffle for us to life.
Yeah.
It's been tremendously exciting. And I have to say, I am in the honored position of reaching out to these companies and asking them if they would donate modules. And it was, first of all, I just love being able to work with a brand new sector of the synthesizer community, to be inclusive, and was so gratified that most people wrote me back and just said we would be honored to be included.
Yeah.
And I that's such a special energy to be on the other end of. So it's just a joy to work with all these companies, and I was so grateful for their generosity and willingness, and all together we group effort on several fronts, and we made it happen. And now we have this glorious system that we are offering to the world.
Because is this the first time a raffle has featured a non-specific Moog synthesizer? They've all been variations of a Moog, Polymoogs, Mini Moogs.
Memory Moogs,
Source,
Liberation, Source.
Yeah.
We've done a couple trifectas that have had Rogues and MG1s.
That's it.
So, yep.
Yeah.
And definitely the first modular as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But if we can come back to our other guest, this is a modular system, a complete modular system that is inspired by the modular systems that Bob came up with. And that's been down to Chris and his knowledge and getting all this stuff together. So, Chris, can you tell us how you went about sourcing, identifying the modules? You said initially you just went onto the website and you put in Moog and saw what came up, that came up with there, and then started to fill it out. So tell us how you went about sort of populating this amazing case. We'll talk about the case as well in a moment, but how you sort of went about designing it, laying it out so that it would pay homage to Bob's great modulars.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the problem with modular is like blank canvas syndrome and getting frozen by all the choices. Particularly in the Eurorack world, there's like hundreds, if not thousands, literally, of small company manufacturers, and there's over 10,000 modules available. So how do you choose a finite number to go into a system? And I said that what we need up front is a theme and a size. How big of a cabinet are we filling, and what's going to be the theme of the system? And then, obviously, the most obvious way to go was to make homage to Bob Moog and his original Moog modular systems. So there's a combination of going up a modular grid, which is the main website that modular users use to help lay out prospective systems, and just typing in the search field Moog. How many manufacturers today use the word Moog in describing what they're doing? Because that's an example of a tribute, right? And it wasn't just like Moog modulars, Mini Moog, Taurus, Rogue. People were taking circuitry from all different old Moog instruments and implementing them as Eurorack modules. The second thing that I did was, well, what else was common to the modular ecosystem back then? What were the effects that they were using? Like Moog themselves had a rack mount vocoder and a rack mount phase shifter. Spring reverbs were really common back then. There was the Bode frequency shifter. So I said, okay, we need to get that ecosystem in here as well. So we started by going up and saying, how many module manufacturers claim they're inspired by Moog? Let's see how many of those modules we can get as the core system. And then also, what are the other things that should be part of a vintage ecosystem? Go look for someone who has a spring reverb. The Faco came through with that. Look for someone who has a frequency shifter. There were several available. We found that Dofer Systems was doing an analog one, just like the old Bode. Bring that in. Phase shifter. We got an analog WMD phase shifter inside the system as well. But once we had a core, including like analog sequencers, things like that, I really wanted it to be a very usable instrument, either standalone or to integrate into the rest of the studio. So for me, it was a matter of saying, okay, what are we missing? How do we flesh it out so you can play several voices on this instrument at the same time? And then how do we bring just a couple modern flares into it to keep the instrument up to date? So there's mostly analog VCOs, but there's a couple digital ones in here as well. All the filters are Moog tribute. There's a variety of modulation sources. And trying to make it, like an orchestra. I liken a modular system like hiring the members of your ensemble or your orchestra. It's not like buying one instrument. You're hiring a band that's got to work together. And it's a matter of finding compatible modules and fleshing out the system.
Are there any actual Moog components, as in the current iteration of Moog? What's in there that has the Moog brand on it?
So there's a couple Moog instruments down here at the bottom.
Oh, yes.
One is we had their Spectra box. Because again, there was a Moog vocoder. And also, virtually all of the original Moog modulars had a fixed filter bank in it. Legend has it, the Wendy Carlos told Bob, you have to have a fixed filter bank in there. It's essential to synthesis. And the Spectra box is a nice modern update on an idea with lots of voltage control and patch points. So you can get at it and integrate it with the rest of the system. So that was obvious. The other thing we added was the Moog Mother 32, which is a really popular monosynth rack mount semi-modular synthesizer, because there's a chance that a person who's never used a modular system is going to win this system. And we don't want them to go, I don't know how to patch. It's just a huge book weight. Well, with a semi-modular system like the Mother 32, you can start patching up, not patching, turning knobs, and you have a voice that's completely usable without a single patch cord. So you can get started right away. It even has its own MIDI interface. It has its own sequencer. It has its own onboard keyboard. So you can even just start just on this section, then move over and go, oh, look, it's got a patch bay. You start patching it into the rest of the system and give people that path to go ahead to get into modular if they haven't been there before.
Clever stuff. I mean, the list of components that are available in this unit is on the website here. I mean, I honestly, this is where my complete ignorance of modular really starts to embarrass me. But there are stuff on there that I'm familiar with. Bafako, AJH, synthesizer.com, Moog, of course, Modbap. Lots of things, but I mean, it's what a list that is of technologies, and all of these companies donated these modules to the cause. Am I right?
Yes, they're all donated.
Yeah.
Over 30 different manufacturers kicked in and donated,
Wow.
and not only modules, but we're talking about case, the patch cables from Luigi's Modular. Behind me, if I can show it to you, keyboard from synthesizers.com with a walnut case to go ahead and match the rest of the system.
Nice.
Yeah, all donated. All together, it's about 20,000 in gear.
Is
And
that
an oscilloscope.
I was literally going to say the oscilloscope in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
because if you've seen Keith Emerson's classic
Exactly.
modular,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
upper right corner, there's a oscilloscope. Occasionally, there was a frequency counter or something like that up there as well.
Yeah.
We put a Mordax data in here, which let me go ahead and bring it up actually, act as an oscilloscope, can act as a tuner, and also as a voltmeter and all these other different functions it can do. So when we were putting the system together, I said, I have to have a scope in the upper right corner, just like Keith Emerson did.
Yeah. What are the other highlights within that unit there? Are there anything that you think is pretty outstanding and would be of interest?
Well, we had a lot of fun with this system. Like, we really wanted to go throwback. A lot of sequencers these days are digital, but we wanted to go back to the old Moog style sequencer with a couple of 8-step multi-row sequencers with a controller module, all from Dofer. But part of the fun thing is that there was also these rows of toggle switches to turn gates on and off.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I said, hey, we can trigger percussion modules as well. So we have a percussion section up here in one corner as well.
Oh, wow.
We have kick drum, a snare. For old-fashioned noise splashes, we have a multicolored noise source, the Quantum Rainbow by Steady State Fate, and a dual low-pass gate, just to add that nice little closing whoosh with controllable decay times. So we do those old-fashioned noise splashes that used to substitute for percussion back in the old modular days. So we had fun with that. Probably the core of the system has got to be the filters, because the transistor ladder filter is what people most often associate with Moog and the Moog sound.
Yeah.
And so many people have done variations on them that we actually have 8 different transistor ladder filters in here. But they're all different from each other.
Yeah.
There's a brand new one from Synthesis Technology that's a very realistic recreation of the original ones. But there's like Dave Rossum's version of what would a transistor ladder filter be today if you design it with modern components and things like that. This actually is one of my personal modules. Yeah. The Evolution is my go-to filter actually.
Yeah.
But other variations on it, like Doper's come up with one like, what if the Moog filter had 1 pole? What if it had 8 poles? He's done all these different variations on that here. We have a stereo Moog filter in it. We have all these different variations, some with VCAs built into them. One that's based on the filter is in the Taurus space pedals, actually. So or a modular synthesizer. So that's kind of like the core. And I was surprised when I was patching this yesterday how differently they sounded from each other. There's a lot of different flavors that came out of it. And we had fun with the oscillators. We started with a really, try to get a basic analog oscillator with your standard sawtooth, square, triangle, the Bafako Pony, but it has modern touches to it, like a wavefolder and through 0 FM in it as well. A little bit of a sly nod. You're familiar probably with Tonto, the original new Timbre orchestra. It looks like all these black panels, like it's all Moog, and it is a lot of Moog modules. But a lot of people don't know is Serge Shripton of Serge Synthesizers was commissioned by Malcolm Cecil to make additional modules for that system, but put them behind black panels so they look like Moogs. So he did an oscillator called the New Timbre Oscillator after the New Timbre Orchestra.
Yeah.
And he was so happy with how it turned out, he turned it into a module for his own system. So we had to have one of those in here as well, because it was like Serge's interpretation of what would Bob do now that things were a little more updated at the time.
Yeah.
But then we threw in a couple of digital oscillators down here, the Modbap, but also this really wonderful stereo oscillator from Noise Engineering. More and more modulars becoming stereo these days.
Yeah.
We have like stereo oscillator, stereo filter, stereo VCA, stereo effects, and a nice mixer from Cosmotronic down here as well. So
nice.
It's a nice mixture of just trying to go old school, but also bring in a few modern components as well.
Yeah, you do seem to have covered a lot of bases there for sure. And of course, this is all housed in an incredible case, which the first thing I saw was the wonderful BMF logo. Yeah, it's just amazing. Tell us a little bit about who designed this case and made this case.
Yeah, there's a wonderful woodworker by the name of Eric Needham of Needham Woodworks. And when the idea came up with, let's do a modular system, I said, well, first we need to know how big of a case we're dealing with, and so we know what we're filling.
Yeah.
And I said, let's start at the top. Eric, I think, makes some of the most beautiful, gorgeous hardwood cases available. So I just by chance that day got one of Eric's newsletters and replied to it. I said, Eric, would you donate one of those to the Bob Moog Foundation? And originally we were like picking off the rack. Oh, can you give us one of these ones you already made? And we discussed that for a while. And he's just like, let me build you something from scratch.
Wow.
So he went back to the way he used to build cases with these particular joined edges and things like that. A lot of hardwood details. He's just did these inlays. We did not request these. He did these inlays. There's some plexiglass panels with Bob's facsimile in them as well. There's a lighting system for this, so it's lighted from inside as well as around it. You can program the lighting system for it. And Eric just went crazy. He refers to it as when the shine comes on. If you've ever seen the movie The Shining, the way Jack Nicholson just becomes possessed, Eric described that as his process when he gets really into a project. The shine takes him over, and he gets really fanatical about doing these systems.
It does. I mean, it does look absolutely incredible. It really does Bob the Justice and the BMF as well. It's a fantastic thing. And you say it's got a synthesizers.com keyboard. That's also in a walnut case.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that the microphone, but we have spring reverb here as well. So if I hit it,
yeah, just about got that.
But yeah, synthesizers.com came through with a full-size keyboard. But again, we wanted to interface to a modern studio, so we got a MIDI interface for it as well as an arpeggiator module as well. So you just go up to it and play like a normal keyboard, arpeggiate, pipe in your MIDI sequencer if you want to, and go ahead and drive the system from it. So it was really a matter of trying to interface with the outside world. Like modulars run at different levels than normal audio systems these days. Eurorack runs a lot hotter than even professional audio. It's a lot hotter than +4.
Okay.
So we have, to give an example of the little companies involved, this Ukrainian company called Knob Farm does this lovely little output module called UTS, a bunch of O's, TS. And it's a balanced output module, but it also has DJ tilt EQ on it. It has dialable saturation as well. So
nice. Yeah.
It plays well with others, but it can also stand on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle has just pointed out to me that synthesizers.com are actually doing the keyboard. So if you want, if maybe you don't win the raffle, and 99.9% of us won't, the one will, but if you want that keyboard, you can buy that from synthesizers.com. It's limited edition. Wow. It's $1,200 and they're off. Yes, so it's 15% off. You get the two modules, the 174 and the 175, and synthesizers.com are donating $50 from every sale to the BMF, and each of those keyboards will have that BMF logo in the top right hand corner. So even if you can't or don't win the raffle, but you really lust after that keyboard, you can buy it direct from synthesizers.com, which I think is fantastic. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah, another example of how companies just come forward without us. We did not have this idea. They had it all on their own.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That's really cool.
Look at that. Fantastic.
Can I make an observation?
Yeah, sure.
Chris and or Michelle. What I think is particularly brilliant about this is anyone that's thinking about getting into modular for the first time, there's you can get lots and lots of racks and bits and pieces for very little money to start off, so you can start building. But knowing what to get and knowing which modules are going to work together is always, that's something which is really quite frightening. So this as a whole system, the way you've put this together, Chris, is extraordinary, because if I'm, and I have bought some tickets and I'm going to buy some more, if I can't win, can I? I'm sure I can't win, but this would just tells me that everything that's in here is going to be thought about how it works together. So there's nothing in here that's going to be a duffer, and I think that's often a thing for people. So the question I've got for you is, would you, once this is done, will you be giving any kind of diagram of what units you've got in this made available for people that want to do something similar? Because just making that choice for modular is a real big first step, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, this system is up on Modular Grid and with a public link. So people can go to it, see what modules are in it, click on each module in Modular Grid. And I don't know if anyone has access to my latest newsletter, but there's a link to the Modular Grid in my latest newsletter as well. And you can click on each module and see the description of each module inside the system. So it's a way of, say, what's that? What's that? What's that? What's put together? Also, you've mentioned my Learning Modular site. I do a newsletter every couple of months. And in my latest edition of the newsletter, if you go to my website, just click on newsletters. I went through a very long description of what is everything that's inside this system and why was it chosen? Why was it part of the system? To give part of an idea of the mental process. Because there's a lot of things I really sweat in terms of signal flow and grouping things together, but even little details such as if I do have panels of different colors, I try to alternate the colors of the panels so it's easier to see where one module stops and another one starts up again, to make it easier to zoom in on a module that you're looking for, so like a sea of black or whatever. So there's details like that in here. And I think the other thing worth pointing out about a system like this is, since it is modular, if there's a piece that doesn't work for you or doesn't jive with your personal taste, take it out and replace it with a different module.
Well, of course, that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Brilliant of these compared to modular systems. If some component of it doesn't jive with you, or if you have another oscillator that you really like the sound of, you can put it in here.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have been like calculating what's it going to cost if they win this thing. They're like, well, take out the modules you don't like and sell them, and they'll pay for your tickets or whatever. So it's fine.
That's very true. The other thing is, of course, this has just popped into my head. Now, I really am, a complete noob when it comes to modular. I really don't know that much about it all. Could somebody build something like this in VCV Rack?
They could probably come really, really close. VCV Rack is a really great utility for people. It's a software modular synthesizer for people who are not familiar with it. Its base system is free. And then the modules you can add to it, the different groups of modules or upgrades are really affordable. A lot of people use that as their entrance into modular because systems like these are not cheap and they do take up a lot of space. And a lot of people have anxiety over gambling. Like, if I buy this module and I don't like it, well, what do I do? I sell it and buy another one. Yeah. But anyway, VCV Rack, I think you could get pretty close to it. I like VCV Rack. I'm not a VCV Rack user myself, just because I happen to have physical modular systems. But there's thousands of modules available in VCV Rack as well. I think you can do a pretty good facsimile. I don't think you could get like the Rawson Evolution filter, but you could get other things that are transistor, emulations, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a fascinating thing. And here, if anybody, again, you have to forgive, I rarely, if ever, go to Modular Grid because, it's famously know that I don't have much interest in it. But there is the Bob Moog Foundation Modular Raffle system, as created by Chris. There it is in all of its glory. So if you want to really get a look at it without all the cables in front, there it all is in all of its glory and all of its specifications.
I love that there's a module. There's a module there called Moog, spelled M-O-G-U-E.
Non-linear circuit. Andrew down in Australia. I have to admit, initially I was having trouble figuring out how to pronounce that, and I realized, it's Rogue with an M. Yeah, right.
Let's see if I can. There it is, right there.
But another good thing, if you hover your mouse over any of these modules, a little pop-up will appear, including an I for info, and if you click on that I, that'll tell you more about that specific module. And that's a wonders of Modular Grid.
Yeah, it's a great website. It really is. It just holds no interest for me at the moment. Who knows? Who knows? If I win this, then my bias against modular, not against modular, but you know what I mean. To me, I like it nice and easy. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. Look, this is a brilliant thing, an absolutely brilliant thing. So let's tell people, of course, how they can get to win this thing. And that is, of course, very easy to do because all you have to do is go to moogfoundation.org. and you'll find all the links there. But let's make it even easier for you. I'm sure our mods will put the links into the chat. Thank you very much, gentlemen, if you please. But here is the website. So this is the Bob Moog Foundation Shopify page, which you can get to from the Moog Foundation website, and it's the 2024 winter raffle, one of a kind 52 module Eurorack synthesizer. The website will adjust the currency to your native currency wherever possible. So as you can see here, a single ticket costs 16 British pounds, but it's generally, is it $20 for the per ticket in the US? Is that correct, Michelle?
Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent. So you can buy these in single tickets. You can buy a pack of 6. The pack of 6 will get you a little discount. So it's only 80 quid, shall I say, for us in the UK. 14 tickets is 160 and 40 tickets is £399. When you consider the cost of this modular system, if you are in the market to buy a modular system, then $399 is probably a drop in the electronic ocean. So you never know. You get 40 tickets for that, which is amazing.
14 tickets is about one module, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah,
So-
again, I'm not entirely sure, but it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's the case, as you can see, without anything in
wow.
it. It's glorious. Now I'm going to try and pretend like I know what I'm talking about. How many HP is that case?
This one is 120 HP wide, and for those who don't know the terminology, HP is basically 5 HP per inch. Is how it works out.
Oh, okay. So I never knew what the definition of HP was.
HP is horizontal pitch. Horizontal pitch.
Okay.
There's actually an old equipment, rack mount equipment standard, not necessarily for synthesizers, but for rack mount lab equipment, test equipment, that was the Eurorack format. And you can buy Eurorack cases and rails and all this jazz today that has nothing to do with modular. And Dietrich Doepfer, the one who really revitalized the modular world by coming up with the Eurorack format. I think there's two things that Dietrich did was important. One, he latched onto existing hardware, so rails and all the mounting hardware was already available. And second, in the early days of modular synthesis or synthesizers in general, they didn't talk to each other.
Sure.
People had different specifications for what voltages they used for pitch, or for gates, or for triggers, and things like that. And one of Dietrich's brilliant things was he came up with a spec that, among other things, unified modulation and audio, both using the same range. And he published everything for free. No licensing fee, information was publicly available. And that made it possible for other manufacturers to jump into this system without having to invent the entire wheel by themselves. They could just sell you a particular spoke they thought they made particularly well.
Yeah. It's. I mean, every now and again, somebody comes along and says, "I've created something. Here it is. Have at it." And those sort of people.
Also, synthesizers.com did the same thing for 5U format as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's incredible. We need those people more and more these days.
And
for sure.
Dave Smith and yourself did not a little to do the same with MIDI.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's Dave. I came in just a little bit after. I joined Sequential in '84. The MIDI spec became popular in '83. But yeah, it's another case of Dave realizing that the market would do much better if people could mix and match manufacturers rather than having to be beholden to one particular manufacturer. And the size of the electronic keyboard market went up at least tenfold almost immediately. It was a brilliant idea.
It was astonishing. Yeah, absolutely
brilliant stuff.
Astonishing.
So yeah, there's the website, and you can go and buy your tickets now. You've got until, Michelle, is the 20th?
Yes.
And when does the doors get closed on this? What time?
11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you very much. It's there. It's in the rules. The lady hath spoken. Do not buy a ticket after them, because your money will go to the organisation, but you may not win, I think is the rule. But yeah, the raffle. What am I doing? Honestly, I put the raffle even is open internationally. They will ship this anywhere in the world. Hopefully, but I think Michelle's hoping, please let it be the continental United States, because this is a big thing. But it will be packed accordingly and shipped anywhere in the world. If you win this, when are you going to announce the winners? Do we get to know before or after Christmas?
Before.
So this could be the best Christmas present in the world.
24th, we're going to announce. It's a Christmas.
No way. Christmas Eve. That's fantastic. So raffle's open now. It's open till Friday the 20th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anybody's confused about that, that's American Eastern Standard Time. If you're in the UK, you've got until 4:59 a.m. on December 21st. That's going to confuse people, isn't it? But basically, that's how it is. So think
Buy
about
your
that
tickets
Eastern Standard Time.
now.
Yeah,
And
just
if
do
you're
it
not
now.
certain, buy some more later. And if you're not certain on the 20th, buy a few more.
Buy a few
and
more.
look
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Buy some for your
Absolutely.
friends.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
buy
some
them
for
as
friends.
Christmas presents.
We need to get Robbie his
Schools.
first modular. I think we should pitch in and buy Robbie some
Well,
tickets for this.
One of our regular viewers, Keith in Watford, said the other day that if he wins, he's going to donate the system to me, which I'm super grateful for. So hopefully Keith will win, or hopefully maybe even I might win. James Glue said that he was going to buy tickets in my name, which again I'm not gonna say no to at all. I'm sure that's allowed within the rules, is it, Michelle?
I don't know that we've specified.
Yeah,
Loophole.
There's not a no transfer clause in the rules that I saw.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
I should also point out, Robbie, that along with all this gear, this also comes with a copy of Patch and Tweak, the book that Kim Bjorn and I
of
wrote.
course,
Modular
yes.
Synthesizer, with both of us
Yes.
signed, and it is written from a beginner's perspective.
yes.
Every chapter starts from ground zero and then ramps up. It does not assume any knowledge. And it also gets you a license to all of my online training on modular synthesis.
Do you know? I was going to ask that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's included with the raffle as well. So you've got a good on-ramp into modular if this happens to be your first system. And you're fortunate,
So
as
this
Andrew
is
pointed out,
perfect.
that things have already been picked to work together. So
Yeah.
here's a question for the crew. When we ship this, should we pull out all the patch cables and make it neat? Or should we leave in here this patch that I've been creating mostly yesterday, which includes several different voices already patched and ready to go?
Kent,
Interesting.
that's one for you.
Yeah. Wakey.
No, sorry, I'm watching the show. I'm sitting there just watching the show.
Have you been enjoying the program so far, sir?
Yes, I've got a question for you in a minute, actually.
Well, go on, do it now. Do it now.
All right, Profit VS.
Yes.
SEM 3379s. What the hell were you thinking, man?
I was not responsible for the hardware. So
Who is it I have to slap?
Tony Dean, and I'll see if I can find his address for you.
Yeah, get his email address. I got words for him.
What?
Well, that's the
Tell us what the problem is. What's the problem with those chips?
Getting them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? It's not
Yeah,
really his
there's
fault. No, I'm kidding. It's
But-
all right. It's cool.
But there's CEM chips, and there's also sequential specific customized.
Yeah, the
CEM.
custom, yeah. But it's
Yeah,
26.
the multiplexer and the sample hold. Well, the sample hold was a Doug Curtis chip.
Yeah. But it's
But then there's the big digital chip in there as well. And
Yeah,
those are unfortunately really hard to get. Some people have tried to do piggyback boards and things like that.
Yeah.
I have heard of at least one former engineer, not from Sequential, that I should probably not put on the hook who said, "Oh yeah, that thing would be an interesting challenge. I should come up with a replacement for that." Like, yes, you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have
Okay.
anything else? Was something else you wanted to ask?
Oh, well, I suggest leave the patch cables in.
Yeah.
That way they can take it out of the box, turn it on, and ta-da!
And get us, yeah. Like any
Yeah,
other
we-
normal synthesizer.
Like
Yeah,
a
we've got
preset.
everything. You can't hear these over my AirPods, obviously, but we've got like percussion lines built into this thing already, and a bass sequence, and a lead sequence. We've got the Mother 32 already hooked up, doing sounds. We've already got the keyboard patch over here, so it's got
Yeah.
several sounds already programmed into it.
My vote is to leave it in. Yeah,
Yeah, I reckon.
I think we
leave
should
it
do
in.
that.
That'd
I
be
don't.
pretty
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be good fun.
cool.
You
Also,
didn't realise I'd have to move my books. I've got another library upstairs, but I'd
Well,
have
that's
to
okay.
move some books.
Do what Keith said and donate it to me.
also,
No,
solved.
no, it's coming. It's coming here if I get it. It's coming. There.
Use the books as a stand to put it on.
Oh, I do that with my monitors. Seriously, all my monitors in the studios and here, all my monitors are standing on books. Always.
Well,
all of them.
I'll make this promise, and I think I'm pretty safe that I won't have to go through with this. But I'll make this promise: if I win this system, I will take it to all the UK synthesizer shows that I go to this year. That'll be at least 3 UK synthesizer shows, and if I can afford to ship it to Super Booth or Super Both.
Well,
Hey,
drive.
Michelle, Super Both.
Right.
you got to grow a man bun.
Oh, and they've got a beard. Yeah, beard.
And a little beard. Right.
That's it. There you
And
go.
yeah,
So
the
there you go.
little-
Little ponytail.
No, you know when you asked,
It's a Eurorack size ponytail. It's small.
you know when you said that all of the this is the first time that you've had a non Moog, long Moog, raffle. Michelle,
Yes.
really? What am I? Chopped liver? Think back.
Oh.
MS-20.
Two touch digital controllers, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was so long ago.
Oh, tell me about it.
Destiny was telling me there was an MS-20 in one raffle too. An MS-20 was part of a package or something like that in one raffle.
Oh.
Yes.
It's not always been Moogs.
Yes.
But this is definitely
That
the
was a
first
car
modular
raffle
based
that
one.
did not go the way we had hoped, so we added a synthesizer into it. And Korg was very generous and donated an MS-20 to us.
Because I don't think the touch digital one went very well either, did it?
That or the raffle. Hang on.
Then, so Michelle,
Oh,
what would your dad make of this modular? What would he make of it?
That is very hard to say. You know, when people ask me, what would your dad think? I always hesitate because that was one thing that's really special about my father is that he didn't think like everybody else. So I always feel like it's a little presumptuous of me to surmise what Bob Moog would be thinking. But, I will say very generally, he was interested in putting musical tools in musicians' hands. He was interested in giving them, the most access to expressivity as he possibly could. And he was also looking towards the future and embracing current technologies and thinking how to apply them in new and innovative ways. And I do think that this modular system encapsulates all of that.
Yeah. Well
And
said.
wasn't he instrumental in supporting? Was it Syntron?
Synton.
Synton.
He was a Synton distributor in the U.S.
That's right.
He distributed Synton when he had Big Briar, and also remember that he worked on the Krumar synthesizer as well. The Krumar
Yes.
series.
Yeah.
For people who, I think it's easy to think that there's a lot of tribalism in the modular world, and there used to be like Moog versus ARP, Moog versus Buchla, Moog versus EMS, all this stuff. But today, it's really surprising that the world is really like, let's put them all together, let's all have fun, let's mix together systems. It's not the tribalism there used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just amazing. It is probably the best raffle you've ever done. And I say that from the
most expensive one. I think it's
yeah. But no, I mean seriously, I think this is because not only is this an incredible instrument in its own right, but the fact that the way that it's been put together with Bob in mind and his work in mind, I think it ticks all of those boxes. It's all very well, and these vintage Moog synthesizers are fantastic pieces, fantastic instruments. But I think this is more than that. This embodies a man's ethos. It embodies a man's design ethic. It embodies modular synthesis of today, and it's been built with love and care and attention in the most amazing way. And I hope this is the most successful raffle that you've ever done. I really do.
Said.
Yeah.
Well, for that to happen, people are going to need to buy a lot more tickets.
Buy tickets.
We have to compete with the Peter Gabriel raffle that did so well.
Yeah.
Eddie Lee raffle. So if you guys want this to be that big, you're going to have to buy a lot of tickets.
Buy the tickets.
So everyone out there, you got to make this pay off for me because I'm betting that we can make this the biggest raffle they've ever had. So you've got to help make this happen. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know about that. I didn't restore it.
And it's all the better for it. No.
Yeah. Thank you.
And something else I wanted to point out, though, is that I think a lot of people say, oh, Bob Moog Foundation, that's about history. That has nothing to do with me today. I'm doing EDM today or whatever. And another point for me about the system was to show how Bob's legacy from over 50 years ago is relevant today. It is affecting all these modules people are creating today. What Bob created is what people are using today. It's not just history. The thing I'm most happy about with this system is showing the tie between the past and the present.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Need to big shout out to Andy Synchrotron for his £20 donation. He was late. That's his penance. It has been accepted, and you are forgiven, sir. And of course, if you want a lovely modular jam to ease you into the weekends, Andy does a live stream 10 a.m. UK time. I know that's a bit early for people in the US, but you can obviously watch it on catch up. But Andy does a great stream 10 a.m. UK time with his modular gear and also his guitar as well, and it's a lovely thing. Kent and I both like to wake up to that and start our little sort of working Saturdays.
I've got a Jupiter 6 to do tomorrow morning, so he better be doing it.
He better be doing it,
because I find it very difficult to work without his music coming in at me while I'm
away in the background.
I've got to repair it. I've got one of the voices has got distortion. It'll be an awful job. It really will.
And the chatties have also pulled me up. I did say if I won this, I would take this to all the shows that I go to this year. What I meant was next year, because there are no shows now this year. So I will. Thank you, Ian, Wagyu, and everyone else that brought that up. I will. No, I swear, if I was to win this, I will take it to Synth East in Norwich. I will take it to Synth Fest in Sheffield, Synthesized in Cambridge, and Machine and Bristronica in Bristol. I promise you, if I have.
He even reads sarcastically as well, doesn't he? You mean next year, Rob?
Yeah, and he does, in the Yorkshire accent.
Rob's living in the future already.
I know. And, that's it. I'm always thinking, buy an effing ticket. There you go. That's all you got to do.
Something else you said, Chris. You said when you first started talking about all of this and your history, you said that there was a point at which, for Sequential, you were kind of their unofficial historian, right?
Yeah.
And I was really good friends with a guy called Ed Rudnick who had the same role at EMU, and he was just a wonderful man and a raconteur. We used to howl with laughter about all sorts of similar things, and I think it's a shame he's gone to us, but he would have loved this, Chris. He would have loved this. Did you know him at all?
Yeah, actually, Sequential and EMU's engineering departments were really, really close at the time. The management of the two companies were fighting each other. The engineering and support staff and service staff, we partied together, we had dinner together, we went to concerts together, we helped solve each other's problems. There was times when the engineers were helping other people at other companies solve their engineering problems. Management had no idea this was going on. So the two companies were literally just over the hill from each other in Northern California. And we were very close.
Yeah. I can't reveal too much, but week after next, something will be coming out on one of the platforms that I contribute to that talks to that story about EMU and Sequential, and that's all I'm about to say. But you'll hear more about that closer to the time. But it was a wonderful thing. So absolutely, those two companies are inextricably linked, and it's an amazing story. It's such a shame that Dave's not here to share it anymore. Now then, what else? I had something else here that I needed to share. Dr. Mike Metley. You can read this and hear his voice, can't you? What does Kent say about the safety of shipping it patched? That's actually quite a good question. Is it safe to ship something like that patched?
If it's correctly packed, it is. Yeah.
I'll also point out that for the most part, we used right angle cables to lay flat.
Good thinking, Batman. Yeah.
Rather than sticking out.
Yeah.
And that helps.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, what you would want to do anyway when it's packed is to have, if it's ideal, that is to have like quite a very, very stiff cardboard that is extending from the sides, top and bottom, literally protecting all that, and then all the packing going in around it.
I'm sure if the winner, which is going to be me, says, can you ship it not patched, you would do that, wouldn't you? If they had some, it's not definitely
better still, as Red Walk suggested, actually ship it and not have any patch cables in it, and just go.
Fooled you.
Yeah, you got the modular, you don't get the cables with it. Yeah.
No, you've got to, because I have no idea what I'm doing, so you've got to leave it patched. No. Anyway, the Bob Moog Foundation raffle, the end of year raffle, is live right now. Go over to the Bob Moog Foundation website, go and buy tickets. They're one for $20 or 16 quid. I'll do this in the American because we did the British one before. So $20 for a single ticket, 100 for 6, $200 buys you 14, and $500 gets you 40 tickets. You've got until February the 20th, 2024, and it shuts at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's US Eastern Standard Time. Not a moment too late. Go and buy your tickets and buy lots of them. Buy them as Christmas presents, because if they announce the winner on the 24th, you'll be able to say, open your ticket, open it. It'll be fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Can't wait to see who wins that.
Who's been naughty or who's been nice? Yeah,
indeed, absolutely. Try and get that down your chimney.
Oh, is that part of the deal?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that's it.
Down the chimney.
We've got about 30 minutes to kill. There were 2 or 3 little kind of newsy items. Why did I just do that?
No idea.
We've got 2 or 3 little newsy items. One of which,
because I'm beautiful,
is kind of is relevant to our current guests. And that is the news that there is a campaign, as there always is, on Lego ideas. I don't know if you've seen this, Michelle.
I did see it.
You must have done. So there is a campaign to get Lego to produce the Mini Moog analog synthesizer Lego kit. There are 602 days left. There's plenty of time to get your support in, but the more support, the better. And this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, this is full size. This is 1-to-1 scale. Yes, it is. There you go. It says it captured at 1-to-1 scale. Let's just show you some of the other pictures here. So it moves. It has the sit up and beg panel. I mean, it looks incredible. I don't know how much. Look at the insides. It kind of works. It's amazing. It's such. Whoever's designed this needs a pat on the back. This is incredible stuff. And all you've got to do is go to ideas.lego.com and just search for Mini Moog analog synthesizer. And then you do have to sign up to the website, but it's Lego. They're fine. They're Danish. They know what to do. And then click the support button, and then leave your feedback. And who knows? We might see
the resistors with that big.
Don't you think the modular synthesizer lends itself to Lego even more, because you could just unplug and replug the Legos to the different modules?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I once got interviewed for a job with Lego for synthesis.
Do you know what?
Seriously, they were going to build.
If this is one of your crap jokes, you're getting kicked off the show. I'm telling you now.
This is entirely true. I was
Go on,
working
then.
for a certain company at the time, and I got headhunted. And flown over to Denmark to meet the Lego team, and they were looking for someone to help them build essentially a modular synth system using Lego. So you'd have an oscillator block, you'd have a filter block, all that kind of stuff.
But it's actually electronics that would actually work?
Yeah. They wanted it to work. It was part of their robo technique or whatever it is, things. And I went over there and I didn't realise, because I was being I've been headhunted, shh. And of course I didn't get it. And the other person that I know they took over there was Dana Massey, who was then the head of engineering for the Creative Tech Centre, and he's a brilliant man.
He's at Apple. Yeah.
He's a far cleverer man than me, and even he walked away from it. So, wow. yeah. So it was a thing, and it was certainly something they were thinking of.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got me discouraged, because that's actually been something I've been working on in my spare time. Is coming up with the idea of a modular system that you could patch in, and the wiring would be behind the system for default wiring. So kind of like a semi-modular we could still swap the modules. You could plug the modules in. Yeah.
You could still do that. You could do that either digitally or as analog.
I've been playing with the analog idea of doing that.
Yeah. We should talk, Chris. We should talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't help pointing out.
Go on.
They will remain nameless, but I had somebody commission somebody to make a Mini Moog case for me, and that Lego one is more to scale than the one he sent me. I absolutely, not. Once the keyboard and everything was in, right? Once everything's in the case, you can stand right there. Leave the picture up, right? You see the little lip under the front of the keyboard, right? It sticks out a little, right? I could stand a full mug of coffee in front of that keyboard on the shelf of the front of the case. It was the size of a 32-channel mixer.
Wow.
And this guy goes, yeah, I measured everything. Yeah, with what? An elastic band?
Oh dear.
So that's very good. And what I'm saying is that Lego model is, that's really, really good.
It is very chef's kiss, that is. And I dread to sort of think how much that would be, because I mean, my boy, who is 19 next week, God, I feel old. He's my youngest. He still is into Lego. He still loves his Lego, but I've seen the price of things, those kits. So I dread to think how much this is. But wouldn't it be cool? Very cool. There you go. If you want to support that, it's ideas.lego.com, and then just search Mini Moog, and you'll find that in there to support. Another thing that is, well, Erica Synths, they're known for doing Eurorack and modular stuff, but they've just released this incredible synthesizer, which is called the Steam Pipe. There it is in all of its glory. They've developed it in collaboration with 112db.com, and it's a physical modeling, an 8-voice polyphonic physical modeling synthesizer. I did have, actually, let me just see. They didn't have a little bite-sized promo or anything, so I'm just going to play the first sort of minute or so of this demo video to give you an idea. Maybe I'll flick through, if you don't mind, I'll flick through to some of the wind controller based demos. Just get a load of this. So this is being controlled with a Roger Linn instrument. So Ian will like this. It sounds incredible. So, and this is it with a drum machine. Whoop.
Welcome
And there's
to
the adverts. That's horrible, isn't it, when that happens? Right, here we go. Let's try this again with the drum machine, which I thought was a very clever way of using it. And then this one here with the Akai EWI. Sounds amazing. So that's that. The Erica Synths Steam Pipe is out now. It ain't cheap, I'm afraid. It's we'll just get the price up for you here.
Good things aren't.
$9.90.
Well, exactly. It's about $1,200 US, I think.
Well, that's not that bad.
No. It's not horrible. Yes, 990 euros. Let's just get this on the screen for our viewers, because they don't want to look at my ugly mug. There it is. 990, estimated shipping in a few weeks' time. But yeah, I mean, 8-voice polyphonic physical modeling. Yeah, I love physical modeling synthesizers, and of course, we recently had the unfortunate failure of the Audio company, who were doing polyphonic. They were doing a big keyboard-based polyphonic physical modeling synth. They'd already done the mono one with the Anima Phi, but their polyphonic venture collapsed, and the whole company collapsed, unfortunately. But Erica Synths are building this, and this is, I don't think there's any danger of that happening. But it's a wonderful sounding thing. 8-voice polyphony physical modeling with 32 adjustable parameters, 5 assignable LFOs, extensive mod matrix of MIDI controller configurations, full MIDI connectivity, 64 factory presets, and space for 192 of your own.
Does it have MPE?
Well, we saw the Roger Linn controller on it.
Yeah, it must be. If the Roger Linn instrument is...
So my massive collection of Rollies are going to sing with this.
Possibly,
or make it
yes.
sing, rather.
I know our resident MPE expert Steve Elbows is in the chat, but maybe he can let us know. I'm sure he's looked into this. And I was just going to say, Sean Johnson Music, who is one of our regulars, he does like his wind controllers. I wonder if this is jumped onto his shopping list. Steve says, yes, it mentioned MPE in that section of the video demo. So,
I'm going to be a grand lighter next year.
Yes, that's
I've always,
Rob,
I've always
can I
had
take
a
small
soft spot.
fight with something you said.
yeah.
I've
Expensive.
always had a soft spot for MIDI or for wind controllers.
Yeah,
Always.
sound modeling. Yeah.
And this is going to go really well with that. I like this a lot.
I wanted to make a point about expensive, about how spoiled us electronic musicians are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
If you compare the price of a professional level orchestral acoustic instrument, a beginner one might be a few hundred, but to get an orchestral level one, you're talking a couple to 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, and a custom one, you're talking 5 figures, and that's no presets,
no electronics inside.
Yeah, so I agree. Money is money. It's not cheap in terms of like buying a car or food, but we're spoiled.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, God, yeah.
With electronic technology.
Because I've always used the analogy where I said, but back in 1976, a brand new Yamaha CS80, shush, madam, was exactly the same price as to buy this house.
Yeah.
So
it was the same thing. A Prophet 5 is about the cost of a car.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the classic story that always used to get thrown at me. Oh, the Fairlight. Yeah, I used to buy a flat for less than that. And it's true. I mean, Steve Levine spent 19 grand, I think, on his, and he could have bought his apartment for less back in 1982 or something.
Yeah, but who wants to live in a Fairlight?
There's enough room.
Yeah, no, true enough.
Yeah,
well, if you take the boards out.
True. Yes.
Do we know if this is multi-timbral?
I don't believe it would be. No. I'm pretty sure it's 8-voice polyphonic, but there's no mention of multi-timbrality. And I would have thought with the processing power required behind this, there's not been many. Has there been any multi-timbral polyphonic physical modelling since? I was
trying to think.
Has there? Yeah. Was the Z? Well, the Z1 wasn't. It was polyphonic, but I don't think it was multi-timbral, was it? If it is, I'll have to dig it out and try it. But,
well, at least you could do layers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And splits, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, somebody did say in the chat, and I wholeheartedly agree, Yamaha, please give us another VP1, even if it's in VST form. I recently rewatched our wonderful VP1 demonstration that Scott Kinsey and Manny Fernandez gave us of Reinhold Heil's VP1, which they'd restored. And it's such an incredible instrument. It really is.
VP1.
I know. That's
hello, Cherry Audio. I got a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody please do that. Carl Bedford has ordered one of these already.
Well done, Carl.
Wow.
Indeed. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, because this was announced. This was announced at Super Booth 2023, and I remember seeing this, but I couldn't get close to it. So I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, it'll be there this year and have a little play with this. I'm very interested.
If this strikes you as being a little expensive, as Chris pointed out, well, don't buy it. Buy some tickets for a £20,000 modular system instead, because I mean there it is right there.
Yeah.
That's what you should do.
Oh, he knows how to
Are you
push,
feeling
doesn't
lucky?
Yeah.
You're feeling lucky, punk.
Indeed.
Go there.
Next thing I want to bring up, because we're getting close here, and I want to let these good people go and enjoy the rest of their day. But I need to play you the opening sequence of this wonderful series that is back on our YouTube channels as of yesterday. This is the Meme Tune program from Benj, which is back, and it had a killer episode 1. So let's see what Benj did. So his switched on 80s feature was all about the Korg monopoly, and he demonstrated and took us through how the monopoly worked using other classic Korg vintage instruments of the day. He then went on to do the little black boxes section, which was all about 19-inch rack mount studio reverbs.
It was.
And he did a lovely demonstration using a Nat with a Lindrum and a CS80 to show us the difference of those. There was a commercial break, of course, as there always is. And then he did Synthesizer Club, which was all about Kawaii. And then there was Patching Today, where he built up an incredible patch on his Surge Paperface, Modular, and even I managed to follow along with that one. And then he did his video stuff at the end, where he's sort of going through some of his old vintage video mixes that he uses to create the show. Please, if it's 45 minutes of your time, and there's going to be 6 episodes, and he puts so much effort into this. It's just him making this on his own with all the vintage video stuff and all of his extensive vintage gear, and it's done with such humour. It's just brilliant. So
absolutely
thoroughly recommend
deadpan as well. Absolutely deadpan. It's brilliant.
He's so good. We love Benj. He was on the show a few weeks ago, and he told us that this was coming. And there will be, I'm told, there will be a 2025 meme tune program annual, which will be the hardback book with the soundtrack included. Please go and support Benj. He's one of us, and he makes amazing stuff. So that's there on their YouTube. I also promised that I would mention that Michelle's, shall we say, cohort in the famous legendary synthesizer Daughters Club, which I think is a sum total of 2 members, I believe. Dina Perlman is running a charity drive. Her ambition is to get £50,000 worth of funding, but this is over a fairly extended period. We will have Dina on the show just after Christmas to tell us all about that. But I wanted to make everyone aware. So if you go to the Almanar Perlman Foundation social media channels, you'll find a video of Dina telling you all about what it is and what they're doing. So please try and support Dina. Of course, Chris, I know you're on their board as well, aren't you? Yeah. So there's a connection there going on.
Next year's the 100th anniversary of Alan Perlman's birthday.
Exactly. Yeah. So that needs to be celebrated and commemorated. So Dina is out there, cap in hand, looking for donations. So once this raffle is out the way, then that's the next thing we need to get our behind.
And here's the thing, and it's a really important thing. It isn't about one or the other.
No.
Both of these brands, both of these people were instrumental, and in every sense
pun intended
of the word, every sense of the word, instrumental in everything that we as musicians and the modern music scene are today. They were instrumental in that. Everything we have around us, all the stuff that we do and modern music is about, is because of these people. And that history is lost at our peril. It's incredibly important. It's incredibly important stuff, as I'm sure Chris will say. And Bob's, when we did the videos for the Moog draw, I talked a lot about Bob's legacy, and the same thing also applies to Alan. Both of these are institutions we really need to help get, to stay extant. They're incredibly important resources.
Yep.
So it's not one or the other. Buy the tickets for this, and then next year we're going to hassle you for the Dina stuff.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people feel like history is inevitable, things inevitably happen, but it really comes down to individuals who have an idea and the gumption to go do it. And they're the ones who really changed the course of history.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the last thing that we were going to mention that I had on my little list, because there's not a lot of news. We're getting to that part of the year now where everyone's starting to wind things down, although there is going to be something. Yeah, there's going to be some interesting stuff next week, I can tell you, but I can't tell you what it is. But it's definitely interesting. But this, let's see, what's it done here? Oh, my system's gone all screwy. Acoustica Audio. They do plugins and stuff, but they've never done a synthesizer before. That is until now, when they've just released this, which is the Acoustica Thing. What a great name for a synthesizer. It's the Thing. And you get two synthesizers for the price of one. TH8 and the TH5, which is a slightly cut down version. So you have a choice of something that is quick and snappy, maybe a little less resource hungry than the TH8. Shall we have a guess at what the TH8 is based on? Any ideas?
No idea.
Ford Anglia, Mustang.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Nothing in the universe comes to mind.
No. But it's supposed to. I haven't played with this yet, but my colleague has at Gear News, and he said it sounds really, really good. But it's not like we don't already have some Jupiter 8 emulations out there in hardware and in software. But this is nice to see that Acoustica are dipping their toe into the instrument waters. Again, and I will just point out that in terms of a plugin, and certainly in terms of the competition, this is a little pricey. But there is a demo video. Shall we? Let's give them fair dues. Let's play the video and have a listen to what this sounds like. And you'll have to forgive the quite obvious Netflix teen drama that this is inspired by.
Something real has come. Can you feel it? The power of the 80s is back. And it's not going to stop. Ever.
That told us.
That's
You
a
can
long
try
release.
this. Yeah, you can try this for 30 days free of charge if you're not sure and you don't want to part with your cash too rapidly. To tell you how much this costs, it's going to get the spinning wheel of death. It's on offer, 22% off until 27th of December. It's 179 euros, down from 229.
Ow.
Which I think is, when you compare this to the competition, Roland have got their own Jupiter 8 out there, and of course Arturia as well, and there are probably a number of others. That's quite on the high side for something like that. But if it sounds as good as I'm being told it sounds, it might just very well be worth it. Acoustica Audio and The Thing, which is an interesting name. Now, it has
It costs. Am I right? It costs the same as 14 raffle tickets. Is that
something
right?
like that. Yeah, something like that.
Just
Not
so
too
I'm
far
clear.
off. Yeah, absolutely.
Just so I'm clear.
I haven't forgotten, because we've got about 12 minutes left, but this is okay because we've got time to fit this in. You may or may not know, but you should if you're a regular viewer of the show, that we have a new segment. It's newish. We've had a few people already enter in to this. This is Synthspirations. We want to know what music inspired you to make music with synthesizers. Be it an album, single, or an entire artist's body of work, we want you to tell us why it inspired you, and given that we're a synth show, which instruments used on that album really made an impact. All you need to do is film yourself talking about your synthspiration for a few minutes, and we'll feature it on the show and discuss it. Send your video clips along with your name or handle to prosynthnetwork@gmail.com using a file sharing service like WeTransfer, and you could feature on a ProSynth Network live show soon. That's all you got to do. You've got to film yourself talking to camera. It doesn't have to be too long. Just telling us exactly what inspired you to get into synthesizers, making electronic music, whether it's with modular or keyboard synthesizers or anything like that. Tell us the artist, the album, the single, or it might be a collection of those things. And the one that we've got this week comes from a gentleman called Carl Bate. And Carl was on a train and he wanted to assemble it, and he didn't necessarily want to appear on camera, so he assembled a visual and sonic collage, which is a first, and of course we'll accept anything like this. So this is this week's Synthspiration from Carl Bate. Thank you very much, Carl Bates.
Brilliant.
I really enjoyed that one. I didn't think I thought, oh, this is going to be different, and I really enjoyed that. So thank you, Carl, for sending that in. And we love anything like that. Honestly, we don't care as long as you just tell us your story. And who would have thought that somebody who got into organs and that kind of old school fashion way of doing stuff would then end up, you know, playing synthesizers. So yeah, really, really cool. And you're getting a lot of applause in the chat there, Carl. So well done, well deserved.
I knew Reginald Dixon.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
Yeah, he's a brilliant organist.
Yeah.
I mean, up there.
Yeah.
Really fantastic
Cool stuff.
guy. Yeah.
Cool stuff. If you want to send in your Synthspiration video, all you got to do is film it and then send it to me at prosynthnetwork@gmail.com, and you'll likely have to use one of these file sharing services like WeTransfer, and the others are available. They're completely free of charge. Send the video across and then we will show it on the show. We've got 2 or 3 already lined up for I think we're good until the end of the year, but please do keep sending them in because we love to know this stuff.
May I interject?
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking before the show started.
Yeah.
So we've not really heard that lovely, wonderful Eurorack modular system yet. I believe you're putting some demos together and they'll be going up online when?
Hopefully starting Monday.
Awesome.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
We'll link to those and pop them into the PSN.
Because at the moment, the system can only be picked up by Chris's earbuds, so it's really far from representative. But yeah, we'll share those on our Facebook page and our socials, and of course, you know, if you keep an eye out on all the BMF socials, you'll see.
Actually, if you follow the Bob Moog Foundation on the socials, Michelle did post a little video she shot of me this morning playing around with the
there you
system.
go. Yes, yeah. In fact, I mean, I do have that here, and the problem is that StreamYard, I've converted it twice, and it still won't accept it, so I can't load it into the system. But yeah, we'll share Michelle's video that she shares elsewhere. It's how social media is how it works, isn't it? So there you go. I think that's everything that we've got in terms of news. So, Chris, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learnt a lot. And hopefully we shall raise a lot more money for the Bob Moog Foundation, all the wonderful work that you do. Chris, congratulations on assembling an absolute... I mean, even I, Mr. Anti-Modular, I'm rather...
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm not anti-modular.
Graduate
No.
to
Yeah. No, even I'm impressed by that. So, yeah, that's saying something. That's a compliment, I tell you.
I'm impressed by Chris's shirt.
Chris's shirt is also amazing. Absolutely.
a close up here. There we go.
And let me just bring that full screen. There we go.
Waveforms.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It reminds me of a psychotic episode I had once.
It's a very nice shirt. It's a very nice shirt.
Oh my God, I'm going again.
We apologise to viewers who... Fantastic stuff. Michelle, what are you up to now, between now and the festivities of the Christmas season? Anything fun?
Well, actually, since you ask, we have a live stream coming up next Saturday with Brian Cahew and Tom Ray.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful, Tom.
I'll have to send you the link for that. Maybe you could share it next Friday.
Oh, absolutely.
That's at 3 p.m. on December the 14th on our YouTube channel and our Facebook pages. It's a free live stream, and we will be talking to Tom Ray about his work with Bob Moog and Jim Scott on the Krumar Spirit, which was mentioned earlier today.
That's true.
This is actually a predecessor, and I'll just tell only the people at ProSynth Network will know until we put out a press release. But we are going to be bringing not one but 2 Krumar Spirits to NAMM.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yes.
Get yourselves to NAMM.
Yes, and it is a very interesting synthesizer. And we're going to kind of delve into how it evolved to be as kind of complex and unusual as it is, and some of its ill-fated history.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk to Tom a little bit about his book, Electronic Perspectives.
Which is amazing.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, Tom Ray is an electronic music historian. He was a synthesizer demonstrator for decades. He worked for Moog Music as a marketing director. He was a long time friend of Bob Moog. I've known him since I was a little girl. I don't say this about very many people, but I do think there are a few people in the world who I have met who hold this qualification, and I think it's very unfair, but I think Tom Ray has two brains in his head. He's incredibly bright. Someone called him a fountain of knowledge. He's just a great storyteller. He's hilarious.
Yes.
So, and we're going to be digging through some brand new archival material.
Wow.
That was actually donated to us by Moog Music.
Ooh.
Just recently.
Get you two.
Good stuff.
About the Kumar spirit. So we'll be sharing some of that documentation as well.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
That's the next big thing for us.
Awesome stuff. Well, we'll look out for that next Saturday. We'll post links and we'll share that around, guaranteed. Tom, as you say, is an incredible guy. We've never met in person, but we have conversed frequently over email, and he's just an absolute hoot. His book, I've got a copy. It's numbered 19, I think it is, out of 250 of the signed ones. I've even got Rick Wakeman's copy sat right here waiting for Rick to claim it. I'm going to keep it here until he comes in, and we're going to get him on the show. But no, Tom sent me, because of postage, he sent me 3 copies of that book, one for me, one for Rick, and one for another guy who's helped him out over the years. I managed to get that to him. So Rick, if you're watching, which you know you probably aren't, but Michelle, maybe you've got his number, give him a call, give him a nudge, and tell him to come and get his book, because it's taking up my bookcase space. And anyway,
offer McCurry as well, and he'll come over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So,
and Chris, can I just ask? Because I feel like we've only scratched the surface with you. Would you be willing to come back on sometime in the not too distant?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Good, mate.
We'll get that. We'll get our people to speak to your people, and we'll get that sorted. Brilliant stuff.
I seem to have people. This whole intro you gave me, it's like, who is this person?
Who is this people?
Who are these people? We've got a guest next week.
Have we?
We've got Jason Jervis coming on the show next week.
Not Jason Jervis, not Get Jervis.
The one and only Jason Jervis of Get Jervis YouTube channel, which is an absolute treat to watch. You have to tune in to Jason Jervis's channel called Get Jervis at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, where he jams in Jim Jams with Jackson. Jackson being his cat, Jim Jams being Jason's attire, and jamming is what he does with different synthesizers, mostly modular stuff. And he also has a pot plant. And do you know what his pot plant's name is? Robbie. What can I say? Okay. I'm famous. I now have a pot plant named after me. But yeah, tune into that on Sunday. And he also does a stream on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. But he will be on our stream next week, 7 p.m. UK time. Jason Jervis. I think he's going to be our last official guest of the year. And then, listen, Chris, Michelle, I'm going to invite you now in public, so you can't say no. Yeah. But we usually have our end of year show, and what we do is we invite everyone that's been on the show and some of our closest and dearest friends to just drop in if they can, if they're able to, just to wish everybody a happy Christmas and the new year. And we're going to do that. I think our last show is like the 27th of December. So I'll send you details. But if you want to drop in, I know Michelle's done it in the past before. Chris has just given us the thumbs up. We've got, I'm almost certain Anthony Marinelli will be dropping in. He's already promised me he will. There'll be loads of other famous people and maybe some not famous people dropping in and saying Happy Christmas, Happy New Year. And we just have a bit of a giggle, and maybe some alcohol will be imbibed. Who knows? But it'll be fun. So stick around for that. So Jason Jervis next week, and then we've got our pre-Christmas show the week after that, and our pre-New Year show. And if I can get my act together, we'll have our best of competition for best synthesizers and hardware and software and all that kind of stuff. So fantastic stuff. Michelle, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Chris, thank you for all of your efforts. We love you loads. Come back soon. And Kent, Andrew, busy this weekend? Anything planned or lined up?
Of course.
You're working on synthesizers to get them out the door.
I'm tell you what. I'm just point out here. You know that little setting you have in StreamYard to stop background noise coming through on the mic?
Yes.
You should hear the snoring that is going on down here. And that's with headphones on, I can hear her snoring.
Oh, bless her. Is that
Did
Siri?
we bore your dogs that much?
Oh, mate.
Bless her. Keeping your feet warm there. Andy,
Well,
busy this
wonderful.
weekend?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, I've got some video to edit and stuff, but it's Bandcamp Friday, so
Oh, of course it is, yeah. Quickly.
buying albums from people through Bandcamp means they get a larger share, if not all
Yes.
share, of the money. So go and buy stuff. I saw that David Bessel has something on there, which is
does.
brilliant. I've downloaded that, absolutely stunning, and it reminded me I've got a load of stuff that I keep on. It's one of these things I keep on meaning to put up. Very similar kind of thing. So I'm going to be doing some of that this weekend.
Can I do a shameless plug as well? I'm a
Of course you
Bandcamp
can.
user.
Yeah,
yes.
please do.
Underneath the name Alias Zone. I also perform these things live. So
Cool.
Oh,
Alias
Two albums up
Zone.
there. Yeah.
We shall talk, Chris. We shall.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Anyway, thank you. Both.
Ramsey tomorrow.
Ramsey tomorrow, 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget Jason on Sunday, 10 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Andy Synchrotron with his jam. Have I forgotten anyone? I don't think
Is
I
there
have.
a pub tomorrow evening?
I don't know if there's a pub.
No, there's an Inky weekend.
Of course, there's Inky's weekend.
I'm not.
Go
I'm
and
not.
watch.
I'm not treading on any feet.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, and
Well,
we
Because she would probably somehow get back to me to give me a bollocking at 2:00 in the morning.
yes. And we must also mention our new friends over at Symptoms of Reality.
Yeah.
Who have a wonderful YouTube channel. They are at the moment they're on day 40,
8, isn't it?
something like that, of a 365 streams, one a day. They're trying to do, and it's a lot of kind of ambient jamming stuff going on, bass guitars, Solar 42s. There's some Moog stuff in there. There's a Hydra synth. There's native Indian flutes and harmonicas. All kind of, it's really cool stuff. And the team behind it, Lamar and Lamont, and Marilyn, who is Lamont's wife, they put this wonderful stream together, and it's a lot of fun. And we must go and support them because they're just doing great stuff. Day 47. Thank you, Marilyn.
One other thing which is just worth. I know, sorry, but we keep on missing this. Spectre Sound Studios. Do you want to talk about that quickly?
No.
No. Okay, fine. Then. We won't talk about that.
Are you talking? What is that?
That Spectre Sound Studios is the guy whose wife has been taken ill.
We'll do that next week. We'll definitely do that next week. Yeah.
So if you're listening, we will get to that next week. We want to support his channel.
Long story short, he's had to give up doing his YouTube channel. His wife has taken ill. He's looking after her full time. But YouTube is pretty much his main stream of income. But if he stops doing shows, he doesn't get the income. So he set up some playlists. Go to the playlists, just stick them on play. You can mute them, stick them in a tab somewhere, and let them play. And he'll still be able to keep his YouTube channel working until he can get back to doing that. But we'll go into more detail about that next week. For sure.
Got my iPad 4 is in the bedroom. It runs them.
And it runs it constantly. Yeah. Good idea. Good idea. Work the systems. Excellent. If somebody wants to put that in the chat, one of our moderators, that would be fantastic. Or maybe I've got the link here. Here you go. I've got the link here. Let me copy that, drop it into the chat. Boom. There you go. Go and follow that guy there, Spectre Sound Studios. And there we go.
And buy tickets.
And buy raffle tickets as well. Do that. Do that thing.
This
Thank
could be
you,
yours.
everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Fantastic show. We're going to say goodbye now. Have a fantastic, safe weekend. If you're in the UK, tie everything down. The winds are getting strong. We will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. See you all soon. Bye.
Au revoir.
Whoa.